All right, I'm going to dive in and get started, and any stragglers can join in when they're ready. Just quick intro here. My name's Mark Anson. I'm a product manager here at ServiceTitan on the Marketing Pro team, and I work specifically on our SMS product. So really excited to connect with you all today. Really what I want to talk about in this session is really all things SMS, both from a how to get your feet wet and start unlocking SMS as a marketing channel. We'll talk through a real critical piece of SMS, which is opt-in. So I want to have a really great discussion with folks around how to capture the right opt-in for the messages that you're sending. We'll talk about some campaigns that you can hopefully start launching right after this meeting today and start capturing maybe some revenue that you otherwise aren't. Automate some follow-up work that maybe you're doing manually today, and hopefully everyone can get some takeaways as to what are some things they can start doing immediately to get some SMS campaigns up the door. So yeah, I love to see everybody posting in chat where they're from, what company they're with, and their favorite Halloween candy. I guess from my intro, I did not include my favorite Halloween candy. I'll say mine is peanut M&Ms, but I love the Reese's in the chat. I'm also a big Reese's fan as well. Cynthia, you got to give us that candy. That's going to be a hard requirement for this meeting.
Everybody's with the peanut butter. I love it. Butterfingers, man, I haven't had one of those in a while.
Maybe I think your dentist is probably thanking you for not for that one. Butterfingers are classic for me, getting stuck in the teeth. Awesome. Well, let's jump in right now and let's put our thoughts of candy aside and start thinking about some maybe candy that you can start building out in the ServiceTitan product, which is SMS. Would love to hear from the audience. How many people are using SMS to market to their customers today? Feel free to chime in off mute or punch it into the chat. Whether or not you're using SMS. Jenny with a not yet. Okay.
We just activated it. We're starting the whole opt-in process.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Hopefully all the not yets in chat can get to the same point that you're at after this meeting. We have to get opt-in. Yep. Yeah, that'll be definitely a big topic for today is opt-in. So for folks who haven't dipped their toes yet into SMS, I'll kind of do a brief overview of SMS in general. There are really two flavors of SMS in ServiceTitan. You'll see this when and let me share my screen here. When you open Marketing Pro and you start building out an SMS campaign, you'll see those two flavors of SMS that we offer, marketing campaigns and transactional campaigns. So it's definitely really helpful to know the difference between the two. Transactional campaigns are really just messages that include additional information to your customer. These are like messages that are more follow-up in nature. So when I talked about, things that you can do to automate follow-up, our transactional campaigns are a great thing that you can do to automate those processes. Currently within our transactional campaigns, you can build campaigns to send out messages to your customer base that has open estimates, as well as send out messages to customers who need to get a recurring service event booked. Transactional campaigns, because you are communicating information, the laws around consent for these messages are a bit different than if you were sending a promotion. So as long as you're only including information and your messages is follow-up in nature, it's okay to capture verbal opt-in. When the customer's giving their phone number, just like you may be asking them, hey, can we send you dispatch notifications or booking confirmations? That same consent can be applied to transactional campaigns that you can launch from Marketing Pro. Marketing campaigns are a bit different. We allow you, the world's kind of your oyster for marketing campaigns. You can build any sort of campaign that you want. You have totally unlocked audience filters. You can select from any goal, just like you can from an email campaign. But when it comes to marketing campaigns and sending promotional text messages, compliance is very different than transactional campaigns. And I think hopefully one of the big takeaways from today is for folks to understand, SMS is a regulated space. The FCC, views messaging just as the same as they do with calling. There are laws around sending messages to consumers, and you always want to make sure you have the right type of consent. And for marketing campaigns and any message where you're including promotional content, you need explicit written consent from your consumer before you're able to send them a message compliantly. So we'll dive into the marketing piece. And I'd love to show you all how you can get your toes wet and start jumping into that opt-in. But for folks who haven't touched SMS at all, I definitely recommend starting on the transactional side. There's a lot that you can do, as we mentioned, to automate some of your follow-up. So for folks, if you've got your ServiceTitan account pulled up, one thing I'll recommend to do is open up your follow-up tab. This is my test account, so I don't have a whole lot of data in here, but I imagine you all have a ton of data in here. I think the most compelling one that I like to show in here, give me 1 second, jump into the right account. This is my other account. There we go. So when you look at the follow-up tab, as I mentioned, the two areas that you can send transactional messages are unsold estimates and recurring service. And so if today you have CSRs going into the unsold estimates tab or the recurring service tab and manually following up with folks, you can automate that entirely. See if I punch back the date.
This is Stephanie speaking.
Hey, Stephanie. Sorry, did you have a question or just saying hello? Oh, maybe just saying hello. Awesome. Okay, so continuing on. So check your unsold estimates tab in the follow-up section. If you have a lot of estimates built out that didn't get sold, you'll see there's a total dollar amount of all the estimates that are open and still on the table. And for some of you, that may be a significant dollar value. And just imagine, being able to send messages to these folks that have open estimates, just reminding them, hey, we had a technician come out, they left an estimate. If you'd like to move forward with that estimate, give us a call or give us a text back, or here's a link where you can move forward with that estimate in a self-serve way. There's a lot of money potentially on the table here, and you can automate that follow-up entirely. Same thing I would say for recurring service events. Check in your follow-up tab how many you've got there. Rather than have somebody reach out to all of these different customers you have here, you can, through Marketing Pro, send a message to every single one of these, letting them know that, hey, they're due for another visit, and to either call in or proceed with the booking themselves. So if you haven't used SMS at all, as I mentioned before, this doesn't require that express written consent. You can leverage what is essentially the job notification toggle that exists on the customer record to hit these folks up and get them to proceed with that next step and capture revenue that is ultimately just sitting there on the table for you. Any questions or thoughts on the transactional side before we start jumping into the really fun part, which is the marketing campaigns, which allow you to jump in on a promo. Looks like there's a question. If you left multiple estimates and they chose one and didn't want to proceed with the other open estimates, that's a great question. So when you're building an open estimate campaign, let me see if I can find a good example here. We'll just start one from scratch here. One thing to note is that when you are configuring one of these campaigns and building out an audience, we base all of our open estimate campaigns on the opportunity. So if you've built out a good, better, and best opportunity, and the homeowner has moved forward with one of those, then the opportunity is going to be considered as one. And we're not going to send a message out to that homeowner because they've already have an opportunity with a one estimate on it. So I think that should hopefully answer your question there in the chat, where you're not going to be bugging somebody who's already moved forward with one of the options that they've been presented. This will only send out to folks who haven't moved forward with any of the options, and the opportunity is still in one of these statuses. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Well, sweet. Let's, if there aren't any other questions on the transactional side, we can start shifting gears to the marketing side. If you haven't played around with the marketing messaging, the first thing that you'll actually want to do is start in this section of ServiceTitan, the marketing registration piece and settings, as this is a real critical part for you to be able to unlock promotional messaging. So if you're texting through ServiceTitan, whether it's through chat, whether it's through transactional campaigns, whether it's through job notifications, you're probably already registered for texting in general. And just to give folks an idea of what this is doing, the texting industry has basically placed a third party in between message senders and the mobile carriers. And the goal of that third party is to make sure that all traffic is essentially registered to a real business. This was done to combat spam. So if you've gotten a bunch of spam texts, this was all implemented to protect consumers, eliminate spam, and make sure message senders are sending content that they're actually registered to be sending. So if you're texting through ServiceTitan, you're probably already registered generally to send messages. And to send promotional messages, we've added an additional registration form so that we can capture some more info specific to your marketing use cases. And we've also done this in a way so that you can kind of have a split between the messages that you're sending that are informational or transactional in nature versus your promotional messages. So what you'll do, you'll already have completed this section. If you haven't, you'll want to start in the register for texting piece, but then you'll have your marketing registration to complete as well. We'll pull in really the majority of the details from your initial registration. We'll collect a few more details from you related to like kind of your general goal or objective with sending messages, as well as some sample messages that are in line with the type of messages that you're going to send. And then we have some terms and conditions of using the functionality that we're looking for folks to accept. And then what will happen is that registration gets submitted. It goes to that third party. And one thing to note, that third party reviews these registrations all by hand. There's literally a human being sitting on the other side of this that is reviewing the information that you're included. And they're going in pretty extensive detail. So they'll look at, for example, the website that you've included in your registration. And a big thing that these approvers are looking for on your website is a privacy policy. So if you don't have a privacy policy, definitely recommend getting one spun up. And in that privacy policy, they're looking to ensure that you're not doing any sort of affiliate marketing. They really want to make sure that you're being protective of consumer data that you're collecting, and not sending phone numbers and customer data to third parties so that they can message on your behalf. The entire point is that you're collecting phone numbers and messaging your customers yourself. So if you're completing this marketing registration and want to actually get it approved, really make sure you've got a privacy policy that is clear on that item, as these senders are quite literally going into your website, scrolling all the way down to the bottom to find your privacy policy or contact us info. And I think quite literally control Fing that page, looking for any sort of mention of affiliate marketing or bad practices there. Let me see if there's anything. So any additional costs for the registration or SMS marketing use? It's a great question. So access to promotional messaging within Marketing Pro is included with your marketing subscription. However, there is some usage usage-based fees that you may see that we're just passing directly to you. So if you're messaging already to ServiceTitan through ServiceTitan, you'll already see some of that usage pass through. So the cost to maintain your registration, you'll see that in your bill already, as well as some fees from the mobile carriers. You'll see included in your ServiceTitan bill, and then within the promotional messaging of Marketing Pro, there's an allotment. You can send 7,500 messages per month, with no additional charge. And if you go over that allotment, it's 0.018 per message to send beyond that allotment. But there's no fee to unlock the functionality. It's all included in your Marketing Pro subscription. Hopefully that answers your question. Great thing to discuss really at the top of things is, hey, do I have to pay more to unlock this functionality? Awesome. Once you've completed your registration, you've gotten it approved, you'll obviously see this very satisfying green registered tag on your registration. I will say it can take up to like 14 business days for a registration to get approved. Typically, they happen a lot faster than that. But, with it being a human on the other side, sometimes there's a lot of registrations coming through across the industry, and it can take a bit longer for it to get approved. But you can always check back on this page, see what your current status is. Once you are approved, you can proceed with really the next step of unlocking promotional messaging, which is opt-in. So to get started in opt-in, you'll go into your marketing settings here in Marketing Pro. And we have a section here that is dedicated to configuring opt-in. The very first thing that you'll want to do is configure an opt-in phone number. This is going to be the phone number that really drives all of the opt-in experience that you're providing to your customers. And we have a number of different ways that you can actually capture that opt-in that we'll really start diving into right now. But this number is really critical to unlock those different options. So let's dive into those. I'll show everyone really the primary method of capturing opt-in. Let me open up a new tab here and pull up a customer record. So when you've got your opt-in phone number configured, what you can do is come into a customer record, and you can see for any mobile phone number, that number's current opt-in state, as well as a button to initiate an opt-in request. And if you're familiar with opt-in, our methodology is what's commonly called a double opt-in. And so what a CSR would essentially do is initiate, click this button. ServiceTitan will automatically send a text message to that homeowner. It will say something along of, welcome to company name. Stay up to date on our promotions and specials. Please reply yes. Otherwise, you can reply stop to opt out. Basically allowing the customer to choose whether or not they want to proceed with receiving promotional messages. This needs to be done on a per phone number basis, as that's kind of the regulation around opt-in, is each phone number has to have its own express an explicit written consent here. So what will happen is the phone number receives that opt-in message. If they reply yes, ServiceTitan will automatically capture that reply and update the phone number to show as opted in, just like I have here in my account. If they reply stop, whether it's to your opt-in request or at any point when you are messaging them, it will also reflect as opted out. So we really like to position this as a great thing to include in any frontline employees, talk track as they're working with customers, whether they're calling in on an inbound call or making an outbound call, or even engaging in an existing chat thread. We're recommending to implement this in those workflows and get CSRs to start asking for permission to initiate opt-in. You definitely don't want to have somebody go in and just send opt-in willy-nilly without asking first, as ultimately it's a poor experience for a homeowner, and you have an increased chance of these homeowners replying stop. And if you get too many stops, it starts looking fishy from a mobile carrier, then you're at risk of getting your traffic blocked. And the last thing you want is to spend all this time working on getting registered, building out your campaigns, and not have messages actually get sent to consumers. So definitely recommend take a look into your CSR's workflows and figure out how you can push opt-in for your employees. One thing we just were speaking with a customer who is looking to gamify this. They want to have a little competition amongst their team members. Whoever can, get the most opt-ins within a certain period, internally can win a prize. So if you want to gamify it, definitely something we recommend. I mean, I think even myself personally, when there's a carrot at the end of the stick, there, it definitely keeps me motivated to try and be the top of the leaderboard. So great strategy to help boost that opt-in for frontline folks. That isn't the only method that we have currently for opt-in. It's definitely a fantastic way to really start building your opt-ins, but we've had a lot of people ask us, hey, can I just mass blast my opt-in to my customers? The answer via SMS is no. You don't want to be sending a mass blast of text messages asking for opt-in. But you can maybe do that in a less regulated channel, such as email. So one thing you'll see in your opt-in settings once you've configured a phone number is this opt-in link. If what happens with this link, you can include it in one of the emails that you're launching from Marketing Pro. And if somebody clicks that link, the homeowner can basically self-serve their own opt-in. What will happen when they're viewing this email from their mobile device, they click this link or button. The homeowners on their mobile device, their messaging app will automatically be opened. Your opt-in number is automatically put in as the recipient of the message and will automatically type out kind of the body of a message that we're looking to see to consider that homeowner opted in. And to make all of that extremely easy, if you don't want to have to think about configuring any sort of message there, you can see we've built out a template for it. So if you look at your email templates, you'll see an SMS opt-in template. I've been kind of playing around with it in my account, but it looks something like this. There's a button here, as well as you can play around with merge tags to include that opt-in link, or you can drop the link in directly from your settings. And this is an incredibly effective way to drive that opt-in, allows the homeowner to self-serve their own opt-in, and helps boost your numbers. Let me see if there's a question here. Yes, to Sarah's point here in the chat, broke your opt-in into audiences. That way you can see who responds and make sure you have a process to have CSRs respond in a timely manner. So yeah, the opt-in link, it's a great point. None of this appears until you're registered and until you have a phone number generated. So you'll need to get your registration approved before you can configure a phone number for opt-in. And once you have that phone number created, you'll see this opt-in link populated, as well as the form populate as well. And the phone number is important because everything is through our double opt-in flow. So without a phone number, when somebody clicks that link, there's nowhere to send the message to. So you want to have that phone number configured first. That's going to be like your primary opt-in number, and then at that point you can proceed from there. Yeah, the other method, which I see there's a question here, is an opt-in form. So we've also developed an embeddable opt-in form that you can use. Does it have to be generated? I'll answer that question in a second here. You can also use this embeddable opt-in form that we've created. It's a very simple form. It just asks for the customer name and the phone number. I should be able to pull it up to show you all here in a second as to what that form looks like. But it's very straightforward. There's just a couple of entry fields, customer name and phone number, and then the submit button. As well as some text to make sure the customer knows what's going to happen from there. That allows you to basically put this on your website and capture some opt-ins that way. And you may be familiar with similar forms like this that you may see in other websites that you interact with. Another great question from Sarah is, what happens if this form is filled out and it's not an existing customer? I'm sure this happens all the time, that you've got brand new customers who don't have an existing record in your customer list in ServiceTitan who are going into your website and filling this out. And we don't want to lose any of that. And so what will happen is if a non-existing customer comes in, they punch in their name and phone number. If we don't see a match for that phone number anywhere in your ServiceTitan account, what we'll do is actually automatically create a lead for you. That way you can have somebody follow up and say, hey, you visit our website and you even opted yourself in. What can we do to help service you? And then when that person who's following up converts the lead to an actual customer record, we never lose that opt-in on the phone number. So the opt-in is going to follow from lead to customer record. And that number will stay opted in really forever, or until the homeowner opts themselves out. There was a question around whether you can use an existing phone number or generate one. At the moment, your opt-in phone number has to be a newly generated phone number. We currently don't allow for you to use a new number to be your opt-in phone number. That's definitely something we can explore in the future. And I think there was a question on if we can show what the form looks like. Give me a second. I'll stop sharing and see if I can pull up an example of the form. While I'm doing that, though, if anyone has questions or thoughts, especially for those who, were mentioning at the top of the call as to, jumping in and still getting the opt-in. If you've got questions or comments, would love to hear what folks are feeling, about opt-in. For the folks, I guess, just to put a leading question, for people who said that they're still jumping into opt-in, have you implemented any of these functionalities yet at all, or are you still getting your feet wet here? Okay, so maybe I'm going to take that as people are still getting their feet wet.
We have, I can tell you, I can answer to
Sure.
that. We have started using like the opt-out message so that, if like an email hasn't been opened in a while, it does give them the message to allow them to set that. So we've kind of touched on that so far.
Mm-hmm. Have you adopted like having frontline agents start capturing some opt-in yet?
No, we haven't done that yet. I do think just our service department maybe has kind of caught on to that and said, hey, we should really try to, track these or take care of this as they're coming in, but not across the board yet.
Got it.
So what would be do you have a script that you could ask the customer to opt in, or do they have to reply back to an email?
Yeah, so if you're doing it verbally, like CSR is connected on the phone with the homeowner, we typically recommend there's really two ways to do it. You can have the CSR say, hey, we're going to start running some really lucrative promotions and specials that we don't want you to miss out on, and we're going to send these via text message. Would you like to start receiving those?
Limit, yes. The
and
limit.
if the homeowner says
Sure.
yes,
It wouldn't go up?
the CSR can initiate
Oh, you
that
did get it approved.
that opt-in.
Okay.
The other way you can do it that I've seen is effective as well is instead of asking for permission, you can also notify the homeowner and say, kind of similar way, hey, we're going to start running some fantastic promotions that we don't want to miss out on. We're going to send you a message that you can either reply yes to or reply stop to receive those promotions. Also an effective way to start building out that opt-in list for folks who are in the front lines.
Okay, so I guess two parts to that. The first part would be you could actually have them opt in over a phone call. Is there somewhere on the dashboard where you opt in?
Yeah, so like if you're asking the person while on the phone with them, there's a button you can click on the customer record, which I'll show here. That initiates that whole process. So I'm imagining, if you call in and we have this conversation, I can pull up your customer record and find the phone number and initiate that request with this button here. I don't know whose number this is in my test account, but I'm just going to send them a message. They're going to receive, that request that we're then on the ServiceTitan side listening for a response, whether or not they reply yes or stop, or if they don't reply at all.
Okay, great. And this is also, it's updated now and it is in the booking screen. Okay.
Yeah, so even if you're building out a new customer record, so let's say, we don't have an existing record for this person, as you are entering in their mobile phone number, you can also initiate that opt-in process. And then something that we're working on in a release coming soon will also be just like similar to some of these checkboxes that exist, a way for a CSR to, we'll want to make sure that they have it in their script, but a way to just simply have a checkbox clicked to send the opt-in that way as well to the phone number that's calling in.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's great.
There's another question. It looks like, can this or something else in ServiceTitan communicate with the LSA chat feature? So currently there's a lot of other widgets that are ServiceTitan related that don't currently feed into our double opt-in. And we're working on that sort of later this year and starting early next year. We're working on functionalities that really integrate those different widgets to also have a double opt-in. So if you're familiar, like with Scheduling Pro, for example, they have a similar widget that can be put on a website to start a chat. And so we are working to make it so that that can also trigger our double opt-in flow.
Let me ask you this on that. So is there anything in ServiceTitan integrate with LSA text feature?
That I'm not sure of. I'm not sure, Alex or Sarah, if folks, you have any ideas there. I would say currently,
I
just
don't
to
know,
my
but
knowledge, no.
We can,
Okay.
yeah, we can find out and email back to the participants.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. And I think there was a question, what does the form look like? I don't have it implemented on any website just yet, but just to show, I've got a slide that has what it looks like. You can see there's it looks like this. It's very simple form, just capturing that name and phone number, as well as just a CAPTCHA so that, we don't overload our systems with any sort of, bots or programs that are hitting this website, to actually, do the opt-in. So what will happen, somebody fills in that form, they hit subscribe, we hit them with the double opt-in flow. And then just like any other opt-in, we're kind of listening for that yes response from the homeowner once they receive our text message. Great question, Jenny. If they reply stop, does it block them from texting them, from you texting them like via chat or via notifications? So the fact that we've built this out is really like two separate buckets. You have your marketing numbers and registration versus sort of your primary or core ServiceTitan registration. If somebody replies stop to one of your marketing messages, they can still receive messages from the other side of the house. So you can still chat with them. You can still send them job notifications. So you don't have to worry about like, hey, somebody replied stop to this marketing and now we can't text them at all. I will say, though, on the inverse, if somebody replies stop to one of your chats or your job notifications, we consider them globally opted out. They don't receive any messages when they opt out on that side of the house. Yeah, I think one of the important takeaways from opt-in before we move into campaign building is it takes a village, right? I think if you haven't started any of your opt-in, I think most people are in a similar boat, you're starting at zero. Our marketing SMS campaigns won't send messages to anyone who hasn't been opted in yet. And so in order to launch an effective marketing campaign, you really need to spend a fair amount of time working on that opt-in. And it takes a village. I know it's a corny phrase, but it's good to have everyone in the company aware of the importance of capturing opt-in, both from just a consent perspective and making sure you're communicating with customers in a way that they want to be communicated with, but also because it unlocks your ability to, really push, valuable campaigns to your customers via SMS, and it's time well spent. If you have no plans of doing SMS marketing today, I still recommend starting this process and starting building that opt-in. Let's say six months from now, you decide, you know what, I'm ready to start launching an SMS campaign. You'll be kicking yourself for not working on building out that opt-in. So I think start doing this as soon as you can. Even if you start capturing just a few opt-ins initially, there's really like exponential growth here that's possible. Maybe in 1 week you capture 100 opt-ins, and the next week you capture another 100 opt-ins. That really builds on top of itself. You start training your internal folks so that they get used to it, and you start training your customers as well. They can expect to be asked about their preferences on receiving messages. And to answer the question in the chat, without the opt-in, nobody receives any sort of promotional messaging. We want to make sure you all are compliant. One thing I had forgot to mention at the top of the call is if you send a promotional message to somebody who has not given you that express written consent, you're essentially breaking the law. And there are fines that the FCC imposes that are anywhere between like $500 to $1,500 per message, which you can imagine if you are blasting messages. If you send 1,000 messages out to people who haven't given you consent, $500 per message is a massively business impacting fine. And even beyond the FCC, there are some bad actors out there. People who are they love to sue businesses, and they're litigators. They're just out there waiting to receive a message that they never consented to, so that they can pursue you and get you to settle for some money for sending them messages that they didn't consent to. So you can rest assured from our promotional campaigns, we don't send any messages to folks who are not opted in. We are kind of getting close on time, and I want to spend some time about actually building out a campaign, a promotional campaign. So let me jump in and start creating one in my account here. So unlike our transactional campaigns, you can pick from all the goals that you may have that you're familiar with when you're building out an email campaign. So maybe, I want to create a newsletter to my customer base. You'll pick a tracking number that you want to use for this campaign. So you can generate a new number or use an existing phone number for your the purposes of tracking for this campaign, as well as sending messages. It will come from this number. I'll proceed without actually having a number there. And then you can start picking out your audiences. So with our marketing campaigns, you have, really no restrictions to what kind of audiences you're using. So even some of the audiences that you've created for other channels, you can use in your SMS marketing campaigns as well. And you may be familiar with the potential reach of these like through an email campaign. We take it a step further for promotional SMS campaigns, so that when you select an audience, not only are we going to tell you, hey, how many total phone numbers do you have? We're also going to break it down how many are opted in, to really show you how many messages you're actually going to be sending as part of that campaign. So you'll have a good idea what your actual reach for the campaign is going to look like based on the count of opt-ins that you've captured. You'll apply that audience to your campaign. You can also build out that audience as well if you want to create a fresh one. It'll be just like building out audiences in any other campaign that you've generated through Marketing Pro. We'll show you, if I mentioned that spend here, that allotment, we'll give you an estimate of, how far into your allotment you are and how far this campaign might eat into that allotment. And if you're incurring any costs because you're going over that value, you'll see that here before launching that campaign. But then you'll be able to, after, getting a goal, getting a phone number, picking an audience, you can jump into what I think is the really fun part with SMS and start building out your content. So some pro tips for building out content for SMS. Understand what it would feel like. I'm sure everyone has a cell phone here and receives messages. You want to make sure that the messages you're sending, provide that really great experience to the homeowner when they're receiving this. So you want to be mindful of what you're including, and you want to keep things personalized as well. So definitely recommend taking advantage of some of our merge tags that we include that allow you to personalize the messages that you're sending. You should really always greet the customer by name so they don't feel like they're just receiving some generic blast. They're going to feel like, the message is a bit more tailored to them. You can include things like your company name or your tracking phone number. One of the great things that we recommend is also including like a schedule appointment link as well. Like me personally, as a younger person, I'm probably not going to want to call in or really at this point even text back. And so it's always great to offer self-serve methods for homeowners to proceed with that next step. Not only does that, meet their preferences, but it also reduces some of the overhead on your side as well. Something to be conscious of prior to launching any sort of campaign, because you're sending a lot of outbound communication to your customers, and there's a pretty likely chance you're going to get a lot of returning inbound communication back to you. And so it's a great best practice to make sure your CSRs or the folks who are answering the phones or replying to text messages know about the campaigns that you're launching. They know that, hey, we just sent out a large campaign to our customers. We may get certain responses back, and these are the good talk tracks to leverage about the campaigns and promotions that we're currently launching. So make sure everyone's informed. You want to have a really great customer experience, but the person who's replying back to your messages is interacting with somebody who's aware of the special. The CSR will see what marketing campaign the response is coming back into. But make sure they know about the campaign, they know about what deals you're offering, can thank the customer for reaching back out, etc. Sarah in the chat, once again, dropping some fantastic knowledge, some great audiences that you can use to break down your email, can be used for SMS. I think just general rule of thumb, you want to really tailor your audiences and be effective with your marketing in a way that you're not just blasting everyone, but you're reaching out to the right people with the right message to really drive conversion there. So use the merge tags, use some really intentional and deliberate audiences that you're building out, and personalize the message. You can include emojis in these messages. I'll say don't go overboard with emojis, but if it's a rainy season and you want to send out a special for folks, to help them with the rain, some raindrops or an umbrella emoji is a great way to make your message feel a bit more tailored than just a block of text. One thing I'll also message is one thing I'll mention as you're building out the message for one of your campaigns, you'll see here in the preview, we are always automatically including this reply stop to opt out at the end of every message that is sent via a marketing campaign. This is a telecom industry requirement. You always want to be providing an option for your customers to opt themselves out as part of the messages that they're receiving. So you can actually, once you get a opt-in phone number created, or at least your marketing registration completed, you can start playing around with the message content within a marketing campaign. You can decide if you want an automated or a one-time campaign, and you can start building out like, hey, I want this message to send. And you can start building out sequences of messages as well, just like you can send sequences of emails. I'll call out, you can only send messages during times that are considered outside of quiet hours. So another kind of message industry best practice is, you can't send messages to consumers, during odd hours of the night or early morning. And so we make it so that you are only messaging within these approved time frames. So you don't have to worry about, hey, am I compliant with quiet hours? Our system automatically does that for you. So you can start figuring out when we want these messages to send. And then maybe if they don't move forward to the next step after this first message, let's send them another message a few days later. to really hit them home. Maybe you offer an additional special or another call to action to drive the engagement on that campaign. And you can set a condition. These are the conditions here that we have currently to actually stop this sequence. So if somebody receives this message and then actually proceeds with booking a job, you don't want them to receive the next message. And so you can stop that sequence of messages from going out from there. Are there emojis built into ServiceTitan? So there aren't. Like we don't have a way to enter an emoji from here in our builder, but you can grab emojis through other like tools and bring them into ServiceTitan. If you paste it in here and you see it in the preview, it's going to be an approved and an effective emoji. If you grab like some random one that was created, it might not work and will appear as boxes there. But we have a number of customers who've grabbed an emoji. You can just Google like iPhone emojis or whatnot, and you can slap them into your messages that way currently. So definitely recommend jump in, start playing around with content, get an idea of what types of messages that you're going to send. Of course, you probably won't launch a campaign until you build out some of that opt-in. But like any other marketing campaign that you build in Marketing Pro, there's a lot of rich data that you can see on your messaging, both at the individual campaign level and at the channel overview level. So you can see things like what your sent rate looks like, your reply rate looks like, click rate if you're including links in your messages. Another really interesting thing to see is, how many opt-outs are you getting from your messages? So, if you have a certain campaign that you notice is driving a lot of opt-outs, it gives you an idea of, hey, maybe our messaging, we didn't craft our content in a special way, or the promotion wasn't enticing enough and led to the customer to opt out. So a lot of fantastic data you can grab from the analytics of your campaigns as well. And just like I mentioned, you can see this from a channel overview, or if you click into one of your specific campaigns, you can see these metrics for that individual campaign. We are approaching on time here, and I know I've been kind of going on here. Want to open it up to any questions that I may have missed, or if folks have questions that are coming up now after showing you everything. Want to take some time to account for those questions. So feel free, jump in, either come off mute, drop it in the chat. Looks like, Sarah, you're talking about our click rate metric here and our click revenue. I'm assuming that's what you're going into. So just to describe what happens there is when you're building out an SMS campaign, let me just grab one that I just made. If you were to drop a link into our campaign, we automatically use a proprietary URL shortener to, number one, keep that URL short so it doesn't, create this super long message for the homeowner, but it also allows us to actually track clicks on your messages. And this is, by the way, both within our marketing campaigns as well as our promotional campaigns. So this effectively lets you drop in a link, make sure that you don't get blocked. So the telecom industry, if they see other URL shorteners like a bit.ly link, they'll actually block your messages. But our shorteners are compliant shorteners. And so anytime you include a link for that particular campaign, we can do click tracking and then also attribute revenue to those clicks. So you'll see in your analytics, your clicks, your click rate, as well as your click revenue for the SMS campaigns that you're running. Great question from Matt as
Awesome.
far as...
We have one last question.
Sure. which we'll take Matt's question about how you can gamify it for your CSRs. At the moment, we don't have like individual user-based tracking on who is capturing opt-in and like on a per user basis. So the company that we spoke with is very likely going to be running this more manually, where CSRs are keeping track of themselves of the opt-ins that they're doing. But definitely something we can explore to really show who is given what opt-in to make it easier to gamify it internally. And then Sarah, I see you dropped a question as well. Price book tasks like discounts to automatically feed into your campaigns, not something that we have available today, but definitely something that we're exploring in the future to kind of make that easier so that if you're saying, hey, we're offering $20 off on your next service, that can be something that's easily applied versus how it is today. It would need to be manually applied to the next appointment. Okay, well, we are on the cusp of time here. I'm not sure if there are any other questions. I'm not sure if actually we even have time for any other questions here. So we'll wrap for today. But definitely appreciate everyone for taking the time joining us. Hopefully you've got some actionable next steps on SMS. You know, we'll be continuing to run these workshops to further dive into SMS. But yeah, definitely appreciate everyone taking the time and joining us today.